Hey guys, Jack here, and today I am going to be going over a race that I did and analyzing what I think I could have done differently. And I thought that this might be a good idea just because I think some of you guys might be able to benefit from it too. So getting right into it, qualified P2, we were actually quite a bit off the leader's pace, which is rather disappointing because as you'll see here in a little bit, the SOF for this race was actually pretty bad. I think it was 1.7k. And so I didn't want it to be this low, and typically I don't like when SOFs are lower than my skill level because I feel like I can't really learn from them. But you'll see in this race there's a few things that I was able to take away from it and actually, stuff that I can learn. So yeah, a little disappointed that I didn't get pole position. And here we are lined up, starting on the inside for turn one technically, but with the way the GTEs work, that you're going to be starting before the chicane. So yeah, this is always a really sketchy start because you kind of go instantly if you're a GTE, that is. So yeah, just making sure. I really want this race to go smooth. I know that if I crash or make mistakes, I'm going to lose a lot of iRating. So that's kind of a con of having these low SOS races, but as you can see, we're off. Got a pretty bad start, to be honest, and fortunately I was able to keep P2, but the leader did get a pretty good jump on me, and yeah, unfortunately some LMP2s made contact and I had to avoid them by going wide. I got an off track for this, which I think, or I'm sorry, a slowdown for this, which I think is just ridiculous because I lost positions already. It was in no way an advantage, but that's just how iRacing works, and it's something that I'm gonna have to get used to. So I think it's really important that you keep a very level head because in this situation that I'm in now, you can see that I obviously am gonna lose iRating for being in P6, P5, whatever it is. And so my goal this race mainly is just to work my way through the race and try and pass people as best as I can and as cleanly as I can, because I know that I can get a good result here based off of my qualifying. I just got a little unlucky in regards to the incident between the LMP2s. So I'm going to be leaving this full lap just completely. Not going to cut this lap at all, just so you can see. Cutting, of course, the inside there to the right because I think it is quicker, staying in slipstream. And this corner is always tricky, especially on the first lap with cold tires. It's very easy, especially if you're behind somebody, to get the dirty air. So yeah, fortunately didn't get the 1x there, which is awesome. And also through this part, the dirty air, especially on lap 1 with the cold tires, it's very easy to run wide. And with Maggots and Beckett's, it's very, very easy to, if you mess up one section, you'll mess up all of it. But as you can see, I actually kind of nailed it, at least from what I could see, and was able to fly past this guy, which is awesome. And so that was another position gain for me on my road to recovery. And so, not too bad. I'd say the start in general was horrendous, obviously, but I know that I can definitely gain these spots back as long as I'm patient and actually wait for the opportunity. And so just like that, since we had our little off track there, we've already gained 2 spots, and now I believe when we cross the line we're in 5th. So yeah, not too bad. So cutting ahead here, you can see that I'm currently now P5, and I can see P4 and P3 ahead of me. I knew that they were battling because the guy in front of me actually shows that he's still in P3, so it hadn't updated yet. So this was very good for me. I knew that I needed to get around these guys quick if they were going to battle, because I can see the leader in front of me right there. And so I know that any lap, if I even just get held up for just a lap, it could really bite me in the butt at the end of the race. So it's really important to get around these guys as quick as I can, really. And I noticed I was the only Ford in this race, which I thought was kind of interesting. I tested the Ferrari, the Ford, and the Porsche here. And for me personally, I felt that the Ford was the best car. I really enjoyed it, and I felt that it was really hard to lock up in this car, which I think is really important around a track like this, especially once your tires get really degraded and whatnot. So yeah, but nonetheless, only Ford in this race, and it was It was fun. I like being the car that's the least picked, especially if you can do well in it. And I don't know, I haven't looked at the trends. It might not be the least picked in general, but at least this race, it definitely was. I think I was the only one, so. But yeah, you can see here, just sticking behind the Ferraris. I'm not too aggressive. I really don't want to overcommit to anything, and I also don't want to push too hard because I really want these tires to last, and I also want to make sure that I don't run wide or something and completely lose this momentum that I've gained by passing these two cars and now working on more. So I really want to wait till the right opportunity comes to be able to pass these guys. I can clearly see right there he actually brakes a little bit, and then LMP2 is passing us, who I think was one of the ones that went off before the start finish line. Actually, here he goes wide, and you can see this LMP2 just holds up the GTE, and I'm able to make a pretty clean pass around him. Unfortunate for the Ferrari, because I was hoping for a decent battle, but in the back of my mind, I'm kind of glad that happened because I was able to get a free position because of that, and that's going to be able to move me up into P4, which is pretty good. And you can see already I'm starting to gain IR again, which is really nice on my road to 4K. And so kind of lucked out on that one, if I'm being perfectly honest. Here you can see position for P2. We've moved up now into P3. We're on the podium, and just trying to get by really is the name of the game. Trying to get by as smooth as we can, and this kind of ties into a point that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, which is that the lower SOF races I think you can learn stuff from, and that is to be patient. I knew that this race could be mine. I was looking at the deltas, and I could see I was the quickest on track in the GTEs, and so I knew that this race could come to me if I just was patient and didn't try and force any moves. So right here I could have sent it up the inside in hopes to pass this guy, but I know that this race will just come to me. I really do. And so I typically have a let them make mistake mentality. So a lot of times I'll put somebody under pressure until they maybe make an error and then capitalize on that by striking then. So I think that that's actually pretty rewarding in these low SOFs when people might not quite have necessarily the same amount of experience as higher SOF races. And so I really don't go for a move here. I just sit behind, and if I truly think he's holding me up, I'll maybe get a little bit more desperate, but that's something I want to work on myself, is to not go for anything crazy. So here I get the run, and I decide to go for it. I pull out last second before I brake. That way he doesn't really expect it. And you can see he holds it around the outside, which I wasn't really expecting. So in my mind, I was thinking, geez, this definitely didn't go as well as I thought it was. This guy's actually putting up a good fight. And this kind of, I don't want to say annoyed me because it's racing. Of course he's going to race me, but it was unfortunate because I don't want to lose too much time to the leader. But this right there, as you can see, with me going too wide into cops, was kind of a mistake. You can see I actually back off right here. That's because I don't want to be any more aggressive. But, going back to what I was saying with just letting the race come to me, I think trying to make it too wide and going around the outside at cops was not the play. And it wasn't. I obviously lost. I wasn't able to pass this guy. And so it definitely hurt. So I know I need to get around this guy, but he definitely is going to be putting up a fight with it. But right there, I think he got a slowdown or something, which is a little unfortunate because I did enjoy that little battle we had, but he just let off. I was really fortunate enough not to actually punt him because he really slowed down really quick. So yeah, I was able to get around him, and pretty happy about that because now I know it's just the leader. And I think so far I've been driving fairly well, only at 2 X's, and one of those, of course, was going off the track at the beginning. So right here you can see the leader is getting held up, or there's lap traffic now in front of us, and there's also LMPs now staring us down. But he gets around the guy really easily, which is a little unlucky. I would have really liked that. Here, just ridiculous move by the LMP2. I don't understand that stuff, why they do that, but it's something I think that I can work on, which is kind of understanding the minds of the LMP2 drivers a little bit more. And one of those things is just kind of knowing where they're going to be sending it when they're not. So Fortunately, was able to get around that lapped car nicely as well. But as you can see here, something I want to talk about is when LMP2s pass around the outside going into turn 2, that kind of fast left-hander where the pit exit is, it's very important to kind of know the limits of your car so that you don't wash out wide and kind of door slam them. So if you have to let off a little bit, do it, because it's not worth getting damage over. And it's a perfectly reasonable spot for them to pass as well, so it really doesn't take much for you to just let off. But you can see really closing down the leader here. I think our lines are really nice, and something that I really want to work on. As you can see, I'll explain later, but you can see right there he goes into the pits to pit early, which I think his logic in that was actually to not have to deal with the LMP2 traffic that I would have to go through. But if you look at the track map, the LMP2s are the blue dots. There really isn't many at all, and so from this point on, I knew that this race could be mine if I just, you know, kept myself clean and whatnot. And that really is the main thing. But you can see here, go really close to the grass there, something I need to work on. And I think that that's just leading jitters, is what I call them, where you kind of have a little bit of jitters just because you are leading the race. And I think if I can lead the race more, or be in positions to lead the race more, those will actually go away. So the only way to fix that, I think, is just to be in the lead more and be under pressure more. And that's, I think, a good way to fix that. But what I was going to bring up earlier, though, is just, you know, it's important if you're chasing somebody down not to over push, because it's very easy to fall into that trap, and it's definitely not something you want to do really ever. But I think it gets the best of us every now and then, so it's definitely something I can work on, and I think something a lot of people can work on. But so far, clean race. Just trying to get these leading jitters out, even though it's a 1.7k SOF. It's just leading is leading, and I think having the mindset of having everything to lose and nothing to gain is definitely something that's real, and is definitely affects people like really hard. So right here you can see I actually get pretty loose. If you looked at my wheel movement, that was very, very close to spinning out, and I think that once again it just comes down to the leading jitters and just being scared, you know. It's a scary, sometimes a scary feeling leading, because it's just all the pressure's on you. Going through this corner, you know, I get a little sloppy. I actually run wide there, which I think that it wasn't as much of how far to the left I went there to get that off track, but more of how far I stayed to the left, if that makes sense. And so I ended up getting an X there, which is a little unfortunate. This corner is the same thing, next lap. This was just abysmal, went way wide there. You can see I'm pretty annoyed at that. So a little unfortunate, as I wanted to run a cleanless race, or clean, like a fully, you know, uneventful race, but it happens, the X's happen. And it's just something I got to deal with, and especially once again leading the race, it's just something you gotta get used to, and kind of get those leading jitters out of you, and just really put your head down and just put down competent laps, just lap after lap after lap. There, once again, getting another off track, so just annoying, really is. And you know, getting LMP2s sending and stuff, that wasn't that bad of a send. Something I've learned is just to brake earlier is the main thing whenever they're sending it, and you'll lose a little bit of time, but not as much as if you go too wide through, say, a corner like that. Right up here, you can see there's another lapped car, and coming up to these lapped cars, especially when you're leading, it's definitely frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. So I just decided to pit because I know that I am in my window and I don't want to get held up by him. I don't want to risk anything, really. This race, once, like I said, I have everything to lose and nothing to gain, so I might as well just pit. You can see I don't fiddle with the pit limiter at all, or I don't spam shift. And you can see I decided to put in, what was it, like 26 liters. It shows I'm going to have 0.45 liters at the end of the race, which I think is cutting it really, really close, especially for the position I'm in, because I knew I was quicker than the leader. The leader pitted, and so I pretty much had clean track. So I think I kind of messed up a little bit, at least in the moment, and it's something I'm really trying to work on is knowing how much fuel to actually put in the car. So I definitely am cutting it pretty close, and if anything were to happen, it would be pretty bad. So right here, I actually catch up again to another lapped car. I don't know if this is the same lapped car as the one previously where I pitted, but yeah, I see if you look at the my fuel calculator, the very bottom right number, it says 0.03 liters left at the end of the race, and so I saw that and was really worried because I just did not want to throw this race away, especially just off of something as stupid as miscalculating the fuel. And there you can see as I cross the line, it actually says I'm going to have to refuel 0.06 liters. So this is where I started to go into fuel save mode. And you can see with my inputs, I actually coast quite a bit going into some corners, which if it's not something you guys know how to do, then I definitely recommend learning it because it can be really, really beneficial. You can see just after a lap of doing it, I actually gained 0.12 liters now at the end. So it was very nice. And here, I just stick behind this car, really. I stuck behind him for a few laps, just trying to save fuel.
He has to pit.
Good. And you can hear me right there talking about it. Yep, right there. So fortunately, his pit window is now open, or his pit window, he finally decided to pit. He waited as long as he could. And so that was nice. Got around him, and with a little bit of saving, I'm now back up to 0.7 liters. So right there, kind of annoying. Once again, just LMP traffic. I figured that he was going to go wide and then swoop to the inside and actually pass me on the right, but instead he wanted to swing it out left, which just kind of threw me off. And sorry for the camera moving like that. It's just so I know where to cut it in my editing software. Right here, a little bit of miscommunication between me and the LMP2 driver. I kind of put it on myself there. I think that I was very indecisive with where I wanted to go, and so I just decided to hold my line. I think in the future I just need to be a little bit more cautious with that sort of stuff. And you can see I apologized to him, but my mic's not working for some reason in iRacing, so I just say forget it, and he'll accept my apology in spirit. So yeah, just something I need to work on, just making sure there's not as much miscommunication. Here we are, 2 minutes to the end of the race. Another lapped car, Corvette, who has an abysmal turn one. And I kind of messed up here a little bit. I went to pass him and I didn't realize there was an LMP also trying to pass. And so made it 3 wide there. And that was definitely something I shouldn't have done. In hindsight, you can see it kind of got to him a little bit, I think, as he goes wide there. Just kind of shuffled up his mind a little bit. And so yeah, I shouldn't have done that. It was something I should have waited, especially when I'm, 13 seconds in the lead. There's just no reason to make it 3 wide like that. I just need to be a little bit more cautious in the mirror and see where I'm going. You can use a lot of that runoff there on the right side, by the way, coming to the finish line. Super, super nice. And going into turn 1, you hardly have to brake at all. Very light braking in 5th gear, at least in the Fords. So yeah, it's not too bad, but something I found shocking was, if you notice when I came across the finish line, there's only 19 seconds left in the race, and I didn't get the white flag, which is just really weird to me. And it's because the LMP2 that you can see, who's, I think that, what is that, 19 seconds back? I have bad eyesight, but he, I assume, got the white flag, but never passed me. And I realized a little bit earlier in the race, but after I pitted, that I did put in the perfect amount of fuel, and I'm really proud of myself for that. But at the same time, it's something I definitely still need to work on, because I wouldn't have fuel saved if I knew I didn't have to. And I also don't know why the amount of fuel I put in was the correct amount, if that makes sense. And so it's something I definitely need to work on, because while this race I was fortunate enough to put in the exact precise amount of fuel that I needed, and it couldn't have gone any better, it's still, I don't really know why I did that, or I don't know how that actually happened. So I got lucky, I'd say, and it's something that I definitely need to work on for future races to try and be consistent with that. That's one of my biggest problems. So I'm going to leave this part unedited here and just kind of discuss stuff I learned throughout this race, as I am going to be getting the white flag now as I cross the finish line. But you know, it's very important to, you know, especially something I learned being in these low SOF races like this. It was, I definitely benefit more, and I think most people do, from being in high SOF races, or at least around people who are your skill level and higher and better, basically. But being in these low SOFs, I think, can teach you a lot, and that is to mainly just be cautious, be careful with things, and let the race come to you, because I'm obviously in this race, without trying to sound arrogant, the quickest driver in the GTE class. And so a race like this is very easily won if I just keep my nose clean and stay out of trouble and simply let the race come to me. Don't force anything. And so I really practiced this race, just being patient with things, letting passes come to me, and just minimizing any mistakes I could possibly make. If I have to go a little bit slower through a corner so I don't run a little wide and clip the grass, then I'm going to do it, because I have nothing really to gain from that speed. I have everything to lose. And so I think it's important that even in higher SOFs, just let the race come to you sometimes. And I do wish it was a little closer. I wish that there was a little bit more competition in the GTE field, because the LMP2 field was actually pretty stacked. There were some 6Ks, 5Ks, I think, something like that. But yeah, the GTE field was unfortunately just a little bit lower skill level. And so you can see there I actually run wide. So stuff like that I really need to work on. But you know, I definitely learned a lot from this, and I'm pretty happy with this result. Granted, yes, it was a low SOF race.
Hey, thanks, Duca. Appreciate
I'm just
it,
happy
man.
I was able to work my way through the field.
Test, Mike.
Have clean passes and whatnot. As you can see, my mic didn't work, so I don't know. I'll need to figure that out for the future. But yeah, nonetheless, I was happy with it, and crossed the start-finish line with the perfect amount of fuel. We crossed the line with, I think, it was like 0.65 liters, something like that. So absolutely awesome. Couldn't have had a better fuel strat as well. I just need to figure out how I achieve that and try and replicate that more in future races so I don't overfuel or underfuel. But, you know, nonetheless, was very happy. So that's it, guys. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe, as well as share this video with anyone who, you know, is passionate about iRacing. And that's it. Have a good day.